All right, so this is the talk of the sports world right now. Florida State University has been left out of the college football playoff, despite the fact that they went undefeated. Get that out of here, man. Uh, despite the fact that they went undefeated in the ACC, there is outrage by people who are just so upset because Florida State was left out of the playoff. If you follow sports, there's no context really that we need to provide. You already know what's going on, but I'll read a little bit from this article from Yahoo. It says Florida State was wrong by CFP, but it's not just the committee's fault. Florida State got screwed. That doesn't mean the college football playoff committee got it wrong because someone was going to get screwed on Sunday afternoon when the field was revealed. In this case, it happened to be Florida State. Instead, it'll be number one Michigan versus number four Alabama in the Rose Bowl, followed by number two Washington versus number three Texas in the Sugar Bowl on January 1st. It's going to be a brilliant playoff. The Seminoles were the fifth wheel, the fifth choice left out. The reason they got screwed goes far beyond and far before 13 people gathered in a Grapevine, Texas hotel and decided that despite their 13-0 record, their ACC championship, their two non-conference victories over SEC opponents, they still weren't worthy of a college football playoff berth. It's more than the committee deciding they should be the first unbeaten Power 5 champion to get left out in the 10-year history of the event. I didn't know I didn't know the playoff has been around that long. Time
Yeah.
flies.
Yeah, I know.
I did not know that the BCS has been gone for 10 years. But yeah, bro, we had to get our two. I want to hear your thoughts on this one. Everybody in the sports world is talking about this.
Right.
Do you feel that FSU being left out was an injustice?
Yeah, I do. And this is coming from a hater. I am not. I am not an FSU fan. Um, Now I do respect Florida State. They are the rivals to my Hurricanes. I am a Hurricane fan, and y'all whooped all ass last year, disrespectfully. We were in attendance. Check that
Yeah.
video out where we were at the tailgate because that shit was live as hell. But I'm a Canes fan through and through. I got jerseys in the crib. I do this. So yeah, I don't like Florida State, but I do respect them because I feel like they do football the right way. Unlike the Florida Gators. All right. Which I hate and despise. Now, so with that, all that being said, I still feel like Florida State got hosed. Um, Now you and I were texting, bro, when Jordan Travis went down. I didn't like that for y'all in a pointless game, no less. I didn't like that. I felt as though Florida State had an outside chance to win everything, even with Jordan Travis. I still felt like it was going to be a uphill battle to get that done. But with no Jordan Travis, those two performances that they put together, I mean, it was sketchy. You know, objectively looking at it, I still didn't want y'all to lose because no, I saw a lot of effort go into that. With all of this stuff going on, I really feel bad for the players, not so much the fans. Sorry, JV wins. I feel bad for the players because you already know that locker room was selling out for that. They were working hard. They were doing their thing. I mean, practice is no joke. If you ever been to football practice, it's not a joke. These guys are out there for real, hustling, trying to get it in. And so I really feel bad for the players, than the fans. All right. But I feel as though they got hosed, man. Listen, the system is well, it should be, at least as for what I thought, is if you go 13-0, you're in. You go 12-0, you're in. Honestly, what is it? Only two undefeated teams, three undefeated teams, including FSU in the country, and 100 and some teams.
And
And
I think the other two are not Power 5.
right.
Yeah.
And so Florida State does not get in. I feel as though that's hogwash, is garbage, and I think it all just boils down to the cash, man. And the NCAA, they saw the writing on the wall when it comes to money. And I'll say this, and then I'll let you go because I would love to hear what you got. But uh, I was just telling a friend that nowadays the rich are still wanting to get richer. The economy is crazy right now, and the fat cats still want to get fat, and they don't care what it looks like to consumers at this point. You go to the grocery store and you try to buy something, they say, I don't care. Make the package smaller. They're still going to buy it, and people still buy it. Oh, hey, I don't care. Make the quality less. Say it's a new flavor. They're still going to buy it. And, upcharge them on it too while you're at it. They do
Mm-hmm.
all of that. People still buy it. And now that same F the consumer mentality has come over to college football. Before, they would have just did whatever as they normally did. Let TCU in, let Cincinnati in, let these people in. Yeah, it's the playoffs. This is what we did it for, right? Let these undefeated teams get in here and swing it out, right? But this year in particular, they've adopted the new commercialized, new way that these corporations are working. And they say, to hell with whatever makes the right sense when it comes to fair. Sorry. We're taking the bottom line, period. And I ain't gonna lie, bro. The Washington Oregon game, it was live, bro.
Yeah.
The Oregon, not Oregon, the Alabama Georgia game, live. Elite stuff going on all over the field. But then you go to Michigan, Iowa, whoa, snooze fest. Then you flip over to Louisville, FSU, whoa, another snooze fest. They know what's going on here. They had an ace in the hole with their Jordan Travis thing. They played that card. And they want money, bro. And they know that those ratings gonna go dumb for those 4 games or those 2 games, which most likely they are. And but I still think that just sticking with the letter of the law, Florida State should have been in regardless, and they should have tried to figure out something crazy. I mean, I've got more to say about this with SEC types of garbage, but what about you, man? What are your thoughts as the FSU alum and fan experiencing this after a 13-0 season and an ACC title?
This might surprise. So yeah, for anyone who might be watching this for the first time, who has not seen any of the videos that we've done before, I am an alum of Florida State. Went to Florida State for a total of 7 years, undergrad and grad degree. I bleed the stuff. Um, Proud of where I went to school, and I do root for the team through and through. Um, having having said that, um, what I think about this situation might surprise you. Um, uh, Life happened. That's how I see it. Like, I'm not outraged because I think that the reason why people are upset is because they have a perception of fairness that was
Yeah.
violated.
Yeah.
They have an expectation of fairness that was violated.
Uh-huh.
And what do I always say about fairness?
I knew you were going to. Go ahead, man.
Fairness does not exist. To quote Stephen A. Smith, fairness is a place where they judge pigs. It does not exist. Fairness is not real. Uh, you know what? I believe this so strongly that I have worked to eliminate even using the word fairness. I have replaced the word fair with reasonable. Every time I almost use the word fair, I catch myself and I stop and I use the word reasonable in the place of fairness because that is my way of reminding myself that I believe fairness is a construct that has always been made up. It does not exist. In no area of life is fairness a real thing. Um, you know what I think about fairness? I think about fairness the same way I think about the American dream. The American dream is fallacious. It's not real. It doesn't exist. What is the American dream? You go to school, work hard, get good grades. You get a diploma, Either you go to college, work hard, get good grades, or you get your diploma, get a secondary degree, or some sort of certification or apprenticeship. Work hard through that, earn the credential, then you get a job. And when you get a job, in either scenario, whether you go the secondary route or whether you go the college route, you get out, you get a job. And when you get that job, you're going to be making enough money to be able to live a life.
Ha ha ha
You're
ha
going to make enough money so that you can buy your house, start raising your family. Maybe you'll have one or two cars. Maybe you'll have a dog. And you just live out that life being a hard worker and working that job. That's the American dream. Is that a real thing?
No.
It doesn't exist. What the American dream actually is you work your ass off to be funneled into the modern day slavery system to be paid a salary that in most cases is not going to afford you with the ability to live in any circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
The only way that the American dream is actually a thing that exists is if you just so happen to live somewhere where the cost of living is below average and you can afford to take your 50, 60, $70,000 salary and actually buy yourself a house because it's cheap to live in this place. If you live in any metro area, if you live in any part of this country where you do need to be able to afford the standard of living that's well above average, there's no way you're going to graduate earning these salaries and buy what you need to buy and get your house. No, it's not enough. You need two incomes. You need a supplement. You need passive income. And if you're like most people, you're just going to get into a relationship or cohabitate with somebody so that you can income combine. Because that's the only way that you can really make it out here in this American dream of an economy. So the American dream is not real. It hasn't been real since the generation before ours. It's a fallacy. It doesn't exist. So you're setting yourself up for failure, thinking that you're going to follow that model and get out and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
You're setting yourself up for failure. Your expectations are going to be violated, and then you're going to become bitter and angry and upset because you feel as though the world owes something to you when really you owe nothing but what you owe to yourself. That's how I look at college football. It's big business and it's also inherently unfair. Florida State was excommunicated from the college football playoff because the reality is fairness isn't a part of the equation and it never was. It doesn't exist. These people are human. They sit down, they look at the resume, and they say which one has the prettiest, shiniest resume. Florida State, your starting quarterback got hurt. You're a different team without him. Your resume is just not as good looking as Alabama's. You're done. So am I disappointed? Yes, but it's a far cry from outrage because I anticipate unfairness rearing its ugly head at every turn because there is no such thing as fair. It does not exist. Do you know how many times I believe I have applied for a job and I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that I am more qualified than whoever they picked over me? But whoever is evaluating the candidates pick the person whose resume is more shiny, who looks better on paper. That happens all. Is that fair? Of course not. Fairness doesn't exist. I'm not owed that opportunity. I don't. When you get into words like deserve and owe, that's a dangerous slippery slope. There is no deserve. There is no fairness. Fairness doesn't exist. So life hit Florida State. That's what happened. The inherently unfair nature of human existence is what hit FSU. Look, guys, on paper, and I went to Florida State. There's no way that we were going to stay in and Alabama was going to be left out if Alabama beat a team that won 2 national championships in a row and won 29 games straight. It is what it is. They left Georgia out. Georgia has a right to feel they got screwed. They won 2 natties in a row and won 29 games straight. We're playing them in the Orange Bowl now. so like this situation is like life fairness doesn't exist. I have been passed over for high paying jobs so many times throughout my life I've lost count. And I would gather anecdotally that I am more qualified than at least 65% of the people who were picked over me. But whatever lazy person was sitting down evaluating candidates read the other person's resume and said, oh man, they have experience with this and that software. Hired. But you get them in there and they lack all of the intangibles and it doesn't work out. And you would have been better served by bringing me on, because the gap between my shiny credentials and their shiny credentials is nowhere near the size of the gap between everything else that I'm better at than them and what they have. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. That's how this stuff works out. It ain't fair. Fairness does not exist. People really need to wrap their brains around the idea that there is no such thing as fair. There ain't no fair, especially when money and business gets involved. College football is a business. It always was. It's just the charade has been uncovered now that we have been more comfortable or become more comfortable with the idea that we're going to let everybody in on the money via the gambling and playing the players through, the NIL stuff. But this stuff has always been money and business. So, like, the sanctity of college football is a charade. It never existed. And for people to continue to get outraged whenever stuff like this happens, to me, it it kind of shows me the lack of awareness that people generally have when it comes to life. I'm not happy about it because I want to see my team go far. But what I also don't want to see is Florida State get dusted 65 to nothing in the semifinal or the final because our starting quarterback wasn't in the game. I don't want to see Florida State be a victim the way TCU was last year. That was an embarrassment. I don't want to see that personally. So it's a catch 22. Do I want them to let my team advance even though we're a double digit favorite? Or would I rather we just get hit with life because the shit ain't fair and have us play in a random bowl game and we come back next year and hopefully the quarterback don't break his leg? It sucks. I wish I had something better to say about this thing, but it is what it is. This stuff is not fair. And I think people's outrage over this is directly tethered to this belief, this unicorns and rainbows belief that people still have that they should be the beneficiaries of fairness.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised you went that way, man. I mean, I do know that you're the fair police. I do know that. I do know that. But me, man, as a Canes fan, now we got hosed in 2000. I think we got hosed in 2000. We lost our first game of the year to Washington, ran the table, should have been in the national championship. They didn't put us in. That was BCS garbage. All right. The next year we won a national championship clean. The very next year, by the way, we're winning every game since that lost to Washington in 2000. Then the following season, we run in the table again. Then we get to the national championship, and they call that fake ass pass interference. All right, in the end zone. All right, against us. All right, and then we were out. After that, sanctions came and hit us across the head. We ain't been relevant in 20 years. All right. So the reason why I brought that up is that still stings, bro. That 2000 and 2002 still stings me as a fan because I feel like we got hosed out of championships. This year, who knows what would have happened? Me personally, like I said, I already felt like I had an outside shot with Jordan Travis. All right, now that he's gone, I really don't see it happening. They have to be the best defensive performances ever. All right, in order to run that table. All right. But this is what now I know it happened to just fall that way, but also the committee said, hey, look, y'all crying all this stuff about being in the playoffs. Okay, fine. Go play Georgia. Go beat Georgia then. Everybody knows that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Go 14-0 then. All right. Then tell us that we were wrong. We're not wrong. All right. Georgia lost to one of the teams in the playoffs right now. All right. So go beat Georgia. All right. So that ain't gonna happen. All right. So now if that happens, I'm here for the drama. So high key, I will be cheering for y'all because I want this mess. Yeah. And I want the committee, I want these people, these fat cats up top to just feel the burn from all of these fans. To go, hey man, y'all really screwed FSU that year. So I'm really hoping y'all. I'm really gonna be cheering for y'all, but that might be over in the first 5 minutes of the game. That might be over. I ain't trying to talk shit, but I mean that's a juggernaut y'all going against. But with all that being said, man, that showed me a couple things. That all right, FSU is not in the good old boys club. Y'all just not.
No, no, no.
Because only the good old boys made it in. All right. That's the reason why they kept us out in 2000, because we're not part of the good old boys club. That's why they call that PI on us against Ohio State, if I'm concerned, in 2002. All right, and that's why they put the sanctions on us, because we're not in the good old boys club. We're not in the blue bloods. We're not up there. Florida State, I think they have a higher ranking when it comes to these committees and stuff over Miami, but still, there's still a tier that Florida State is just not there in the good old boy market. And y'all got a lot of fans. Y'all gonna have a lot of people watching that game, but y'all might not have enough casuals to watch it.
Yeah,
And
right.
casuals will watch Alabama. They're gonna watch, Penix. They're gonna watch all of that. So yeah, man, I just think that this, and you're right, man, the fair stuff don't have nothing to do with bottom line and money. When bottom line and money is on the table, fairness is out the window.
It always
And
is, but it's
mhm,
exacerbated when you put the money into it. But even
yeah,
without the money, that shit is out the window.
yeah, and
So
so yeah, and so with all of this going on, I mean, I understood it. I understood it. I just only know how I would have felt as a fan that go, hey, bro, but we did it though. We won all our games though.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
then there's always the who knows factor. Cause I already know in 2000 when they didn't get us into BCS, we destroyed whatever team we played, and whatever team that got in got destroyed. So it's just like, man, see, this is the crap I'm talking about. They just wanted us out. So I don't think it's some grandiose collusion. I just really think that, nah, you're not in the good old boy club. You don't make enough money. You ain't enough attention. Jordan Travis, all of these other reasons. Sorry. And so I think they took enough L's. And Stephen A. Smith made a good point about this. He said, hey, blame TCU for getting eradicated.
yes, yep.
Blame them. Blame Cincinnati for not making these things competitive. But if you watch that Washington Oregon game, elite plays all across the field. I mean, I'm like, man, these guys are in college. This is great, you know. But then you see whatever quarterback FSU rolled out there, the third string guy. I mean, he is just struggling with 60 something yards passing for the whole game. I mean, 16 to whatever against Louisville. Like, what did you just say? And so yeah, y'all just in their minds that y'all was just gonna be TCU 2.0. And
I mean, I really do think that they looked at it that way. I really do. I was
mhm,
thinking that even before Stephen A. Smith said it. It's just
mhm,
like I feel as though they have, you know, they kind of have Stockholm syndrome
yeah.
based off of what happened with them putting TCU in the game last year
Mhm.
because that was a debacle, and they
It
just
was.
don't want to repeat of that because then they'll make a mockery of the entire sport.
Right.
Um, I mean, in the case, I hear what you're saying. In the case of what you brought up with you have a right to feel like you got screwed because you were in the game and then there was incompetence that
Right.
sort of set in and caused you to lose. This to me wasn't necessarily incompetence, but more so a very natural way that most humans instinctively take information like this and make a judgment call. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not shocked because if I was sitting in there, I might look at this and be like, do they still get in? The starting quarterback got hurt, and they just beat a team that won 29 games in a row and won two straight championship games. What do I think the possible outcome can be? I can understand how that was the thought process, right or wrong, fair or unfair, even though fairness ain't really a real thing. In your case, I could see you feeling like you got holes because that was incompetence or a ridiculous oversight. That's like say I got like let's use my hiring analogy. Let's
Mhm.
say that I got hired for a job that I was really trying to get. And I'm right there and I'm about to sign a contract and I'm about to be the next highly paid employee on the staff. And at the 23rd hour,
Hmm.
the recruiter is like, do you know how to build websites? I say, yeah. And then they say, okay, well, do you know how to use Drupal? No, I don't know. I know I don't know how to use Drupal. I know how to use WordPress.
Right.
And they say, oh, well, this other person knows how to use Drupal. I don't care. I know how to build websites. I know how to code. I just don't use the same framework. What's the difference? We'd rather the person who knew how to use Drupal. Sorry, sir, but you're out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made it that far, and then you hose me on a ridiculous technicality like that. I would feel like I got screwed for real.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that were the case, why not bring that up in the earlier parts of this
Right.
negotiation before you get me down here to sign on the dotted line when I feel as though I have secured this thing, and then you want to disqualify me? In a
Mm-hmm.
roundabout way, I kind of feel like that's what happened to y'all. So I kind of feel like you're justified in feeling like you got holes. This to me was just business as usual. This
Yeah.
was literally college football standard operating procedures. Quarterback broke his leg. Hey, man, it ain't fair, but we can't let you in there because we don't need a non competitive game. And you're not the same team without him because let's face it, if he was in the game, we would have won like 40-10 probably.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 6-6 in the fourth quarter. It's hard to overcome that. I even feel like if we had been up at least a touchdown and a half in the fourth quarter, they may have had more sympathy. But it was a tied game, low scoring, no touchdowns scored in the fourth quarter. It's hard to overcome that. So
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I also accept that that's the way things typically go.
Yeah. Hey man, I'll be rooting for y'all against Georgia. As crazy as that sounds, man. I just want the mess. I want the chaos.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Now,
yeah, I want the
yeah.
chaos.
Yeah, if we win that game, that will be very interesting,
Yes.
especially if it's won convincingly. But then again, we don't really know who's going to play yet because a lot of times when this kind of thing happens, key
Yeah.
guys sit out because they say, "Well, just
Yeah.
skip the bowl game." So
Yeah.
we'll see what ends up happening, man. But hey, look, man, we got a top 10 recruiting class again. I think next year. Travis is gone, but I do like the way Rodemaker looked. I think with an entire offseason, with him getting the majority of the reps with the first teamers, I like us going into next year again, especially if those receivers come back. So we'll see what happens, man. But this is the way the cookie crumbles, man. Um, invest your energy in things where the outcome is more determined by actual merit. And you can say what you want about the NFL because there's some shisty stuff going on with the NFL, but at least there's a fully fledged playoff in the NFL. So you can rest more assured that your fate is more directly tethered to merit and not circumstance, which is all college football is circumstance.
It's crazy. And the last thing, man, they thought they did merit, and especially if I'm Mike Norvell, it's like, bro, I come on, bro, we're
Yeah.
13. Come
Yeah.
on, dog. We
But
beat.
see, the difference is in the NFL, if you're first like in the NFL, if the starter goes out, they're not going to remove you from the play. They're not going to remove you from your
Yeah, that's
seating.
genuine merit. Yeah,
Yeah. So we're confused. We have a false perception of merit when it comes to college football, and that's my whole point. Like it's not. It's never been fair.
it
Like
hasn't.
if Tua goes down with an ACL or an Achilles, but we still win the AFC East, we're still in the playoffs.
That's true.
As a matter of fact, it happened last year.
Yeah,
What's
right.
that kid's name? Skyler.
Yeah,
He had to start Skyler because Tua got concussed. we had to go. We knew what was going to happen more likely than not. But hey, we in there because
right.
in the NFL, you made it. You got in there. They're not going to take you out of there. But there's no such thing as fair when it comes to life in general. But really, college football is all is it's just pie in the sky judgments and weird randomness. It's never been fair. It's never been fair.
Yeah. Hey, well, hey, take a snippet of this. It's the only time you're gonna hear me say this. Go Knowles, man. Go Knowles.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
go
love
Knowles.
it, man. Shouts out to Jordan Travis too, man. You played your ass off. You gave a lot to FSU, man. I wish you all the luck in your future endeavors,
Yeah,
sir.
for sure, for sure, for sure.